Hey there, this is Bob. I sit at the kitchen table, a mug of coffee in hand, the early morning sun spilling over the counter like liquid gold. The view of the ocean stretches out before me, as endless as the horizon, the waves gently crashing against the rocks. The house is quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional whistle of the wind through the trees outside. It's the kind of life people dream about, beachfront property, the kind of luxury you get used to without even realizing how rare it is. Linda moves into the room, her bare feet silent on the hardwood floors. Her hair's pulled back in a loose ponytail, strands falling free around her face. She doesn't need to dress up for me anymore. It's one of the things I love about her. She doesn't hide behind anything. No pretense. Morning, she says, her voice warm but still heavy with sleep. I smile, eyes still fixed on the water. Morning. Coffee? Already got it, she says, and I hear the soft clink of a spoon against ceramic as she stirs her own mug. We've got a rhythm. A perfect, easy flow to the mornings. No need for words, no awkward pauses. Just the comfort of being here, together, in this place we've built. It's been 8 years since we got married. 8 years of travel, business meetings, dinner parties, late-night talks that lasted until the sun came up. People used to envy us. We were the couple everyone wanted to be, the ones who had it all figured out. I own a consulting firm, help businesses expand and streamline. It's good money, but that's not why I do it. I'm driven. I like the work, the challenge. Linda has her own things, photography, design. She's got a creative side that's always been her thing, even when we were younger. We balance each other out, like two puzzle pieces that fit perfectly together. Never a dull moment, always a shared look that says everything we don't have to say aloud. Thinking about the trip next month? She asks, leaning against the counter. I glance at her, letting a smile tug at my lips. You mean our next destination on the never-ending vacation? She grins, eyes sparkling. Someone has to keep us entertained. I think the last 3 months of jetting across Europe did that. I tease. She laughs, walking over to sit beside me at the table. There's a certain ease to her movements, like she doesn't even have to think about it. We've been in sync for so long, it's hard to imagine life any other way. But lately, something's been off. Tiny cracks, barely noticeable at first. I could brush them off, like the way she's been looking at me when I talk about work, or how she spends more time lost in her phone when we're together than she used to. The odd silence after we hang up with her parents, the quick smile she flashes when she thinks I'm not looking. Nothing I can pin down, nothing to grab onto, but it's there. I was thinking about seeing if we could spend a week in Venice, just you and me, she says, breaking my thoughts. Before the chaos of the holidays. I nod, but the thought lingers in the back of my mind like a flicker in the dark. Things have been good, at least on the surface. We travel, we eat out, we talk about the future, building more property, opening another business. It's a life we both signed up for. But every time I look at Linda now, I wonder if we're really living it, or if we've just been coasting on autopilot, not noticing how the plane's nose is starting to dip. She notices my hesitation, but she doesn't ask. She's never been one to pry unless I offer. She knows how to give space. Another thing I love about her. She's not like other women. But that's the problem, isn't it? The more space we give, the more distant we get. Not physically, never that. But emotionally. I'm starting to feel like we're two people living side by side, not two people who share a life. Yeah, I think that sounds great, I say finally, pushing the thought aside. Venice it is. She smiles, and for a moment, everything feels like it's back to normal. She's smiling because we're making plans, because that's what we do. But something in her eyes, something I can't quite place, gives me pause. We've been living the dream for so long. But every dream has its end, right? I don't know if I'm ready for that. The days blur into each other, as they always do when you're caught in a routine. We've been back from Venice for a week now, and life has settled back into its usual rhythm. The ocean still crashes against the rocks, the sound constant, grounding me. But there's something different about the way Linda's been acting, a subtle shift in the air between us. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's a Wednesday evening, and we're sitting on the couch in the living room, the lights low, a glass of wine in hand. Linda's been quiet, unusually so. The kind of quiet that makes me wonder what's going on in her head. I notice the way her fingers toy with the stem of her glass, the same way she does when she's nervous. Bob, she starts, her voice careful, almost tentative. I've been thinking. I raise an eyebrow, glancing over at her. About us, she says, taking a deep breath. About our marriage. The air feels thick, charged, and I sit up straighter. This isn't a conversation I was expecting. What do you mean? I ask, trying to sound casual, but my heart's already picking up speed. I think we're missing out, she says. She sets her glass down on the table and turns to face me, her eyes serious. There's so much we haven't experienced, things we should have explored while we're still young, you know? I feel a tightening in my chest, something unfamiliar. What are you saying, Linda? She exhales, her gaze unwavering. I think we should open our marriage. I blink, unable to process the words at first. My brain scrambles, trying to make sense of what she's suggesting. Open our marriage? It doesn't make sense. It feels like a punch in the stomach. She rushes to explain. I'm not unhappy, Bob. I love you. But I feel like we've been so focused on building our perfect life, we haven't actually lived it. We've traveled the world, we've built this amazing home, but there's this whole part of us, of me, that feels like it's missing. I think we're both missing out on experiences, on things we haven't had the chance to try. I'm frozen. Her words cut through me, but not in the way I expected. It's not anger I feel. Not yet. It's confusion. A sense of betrayal. This isn't how things were supposed to go. I open my mouth to respond, but nothing comes out at first. The silence stretches, thick and heavy. You want to date other people? I finally asked, the question hanging in the air like a challenge. Linda nods, a subtle motion. I think it could help us grow, Bob. You'd be free to date other people, too. No strings, no obligations. We'd set boundaries, clear ones. But I don't want us to feel trapped by what we think we're supposed to do. Her words land like stones in the pit of my stomach. The thought of her with someone else, of us both stepping out of this shared life we've built, doesn't sit well with me. I never imagined this. Never thought we'd be here. I take a long breath, letting the tension slide down my spine, trying to think. She's serious. I can see it in her eyes. This isn't some fleeting thought she had after a bad day. She's been turning this idea over in her mind, probably for weeks. It's absurd. Right. I should tell her it's ridiculous. That marriage is about exclusivity, about commitment. I should walk away from this conversation right now, say it's a mistake. But I don't. Instead, I sit there, the quiet of the room swallowing me whole. The weight of her request settles over me like a thick fog. The air feels colder now, even with the fireplace flickering softly across the room. I need time to think. I say, the words slipping out, almost without thinking. Linda nods, the understanding in her gaze softening the edges of my growing frustration. She stands, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder, as she walks to the kitchen. Her touch is light, almost gentle. She doesn't push me. Doesn't press. And so I sit, alone with my thoughts. I think about her, about us, about everything we've worked for. I think about the way we've always been in sync, the way we've understood each other without needing to speak. I think about the life we've built, and how easily it could crumble if I say yes. But could it? Could it crumble? Or could it, somehow, make us stronger? I don't know. What I do know is that I'm not ready for things to change. The first few weeks after our conversation feel like living in someone else's skin. I still can't wrap my head around the idea of this open marriage, but Linda's gone ahead with it. She's out there, meeting people, going on dates, and I'm stuck in this weird space, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. At first, I don't even know if I want to pursue anything. This whole thing feels like a betrayal, like we've lost our way. But I don't want to be left behind. So I start. Slowly. I attend a few networking events, meet some interesting people, and let things unfold. It's not that I'm looking for love. I'm just curious, I guess. What could this really be like? What surprises me is how easily it all happens. I'm fit, always have been. I work out regularly, take care of myself, eat well. That, along with the fact that I built a successful consulting business and have some decent connections in the professional world, seems to put me in a position that others find appealing. It's effortless. Conversations flow smoothly. I don't have to try too hard. A few drinks, some light-hearted chatter, and suddenly I'm getting a text asking me out. It's almost ridiculous how quickly things move. There's a woman in her mid-30s, sharp, confident, someone who runs her own company. She's gorgeous, the kind of woman who makes you feel good about yourself just by looking at her. I meet her at a conference in the city, and by the end of the evening, we're making plans to grab dinner the following week. Another one, a writer, meets me through a mutual connection at a dinner party. She's witty, attractive in an understated way, and we talk for hours. I end up spending the night with her. I'm not sure what I expected, but it's happening. People are interested. And despite myself, I'm starting to enjoy it. The freedom, the thrill of the unknown. I feel like I'm living in a different world. Then there's Linda. She tries, she really does. But it's not as easy for her. She's gone on a few dates. She talks about them when she comes home, the stories about awkward dinners, forced conversation, the inability to connect with anyone. The few men she meets don't seem interested in anything serious, and Linda's not one for casual flings. She's frustrated, I can hear it in her voice when she talks about the latest failed date, the one where the guy couldn't even hold a decent conversation. Or the one who ghosted her after a single date. I don't get it, she says one evening, frustration painted across her face as she leans against the counter, nursing a glass of wine. Why does it seem so easy for you, and so hard for me? I don't know what to say. The answer's clear, but it's not something I want to admit. I'm the successful one. I have the connections. I'm fit, healthy, and well-traveled. That makes me attractive, that's the truth. Linda doesn't have those same advantages. She's not in the same circles. She's not used to this world of dating. She's never been the type to put herself out there like that. It's a bitter pill for her to swallow, and I can see the toll it's taking on her. She's starting to become withdrawn, her excitement for the idea of an open marriage slowly fading. I'm not immune to it either. The house feels quieter now, the small moments of tension building with each passing day. We don't argue, but the cracks in our relationship widen with every story she tells of failed dates. I don't know how to fix it. But the irony isn't lost on me. Here I am, stepping into this world, meeting new people, experiencing things I never thought I would. And Linda? She's struggling, feeling left behind, rejected, while I'm out there, living a version of our dream, only it's not our dream anymore. It's mine. I've gotten everything I thought I wanted, but now I'm starting to realize I don't know what to do with it. At night, when I lie in bed, I think about what's happening. The fun, the freedom, the thrill of new experiences. But at the same time, there's a hollowness to it. I thought this was the answer, thought it would somehow make things better, but all it's done is magnify the divide between Linda and me. And I'm not sure we can bridge it. It's the paradox of it all. The freedom we were supposed to gain has only imprisoned us further. I wake up one morning, the sun slanting through the blinds, and it hits me, like a sudden, sharp realization. I've been pretending. Pretending this open marriage thing could work, pretending that I'm okay with everything. But the truth is, it's been unraveling for weeks. The freedom I thought I wanted, the thrill of meeting new people, it hasn't fixed anything. If anything, it's only exposed how far we've drifted. I'm lying next to Linda, still asleep, her breath soft and steady. She looks peaceful, as if nothing has changed. But I can see it now. The truth, the reason behind her request. She wanted more than freedom. She wanted something I couldn't give. She didn't want to be tied down anymore, not just to me, but to the life we built. To the expectations we had of each other, of this perfect marriage. She's been searching for a way out, even if she didn't know it. She wasn't asking for space or time. She was asking for something bigger, a way to reinvent herself, to explore a different life, to be free of the things we built together. And I get it now. But I don't know how to get back from this. We've reached a point where our values no longer align. I believe in commitment, in loyalty. But she's seeking something different. Something that I'm not willing to give up. Our priorities, our core beliefs, they've shifted in ways I didn't expect, and certainly not in ways I wanted. I decide then, lying there next to her, that this isn't going to work. I can't continue down this path. We've both changed, and not for the better. I need to file for divorce. When I tell Linda that night, she doesn't cry. Doesn't beg. She's calm, but I can see the anger behind her eyes, simmering just beneath the surface. You're serious? She asks, her voice cold, almost accusing. I am, I say, my voice steady, even though the weight of the decision presses down on me. I think we've lost our way. We're not the same people anymore. She stares at me, her face pale. So this is it? After everything? After all this time? I think it has to be, I reply, the finality of the words sinking in. Her lips tighten. She stands, pacing the room as if trying to burn off the shock. You think this is what's best? You think throwing it all away is better than fighting for it? I've fought, I say, frustration creeping into my voice. But this isn't about fighting anymore. We're not fighting for the same thing. The silence stretches between us, thick and suffocating. Linda looks at me with a mixture of disbelief and hurt, but there's something else there, too, resentment, perhaps, or maybe even relief. You've already made up your mind, haven't you? She says, her voice barely above a whisper. I nod. I have. The words hang in the air, heavy with unspoken truth. She doesn't argue further. She doesn't need to. She's known this was coming, even if she tried to pretend otherwise. The next few days are a blur of phone calls, paperwork, and conversations with friends and family. I try to explain, to make them understand. Some of them get it, my friends, the ones who've seen our relationship shift over the years. They don't exactly approve of how things ended, but they understand. Others don't. They can't fathom how we went from a perfect marriage to this. Linda's family especially. They accuse me of being selfish, of throwing away something so precious for something fleeting, for some temporary satisfaction. They don't understand the deeper layers, the complexities. They see this as a failure. A betrayal. It's strange, how quickly everything changes. How a seemingly perfect life can turn into a pile of broken pieces in the blink of an eye. Some people try to reach out, tell me I'm doing the right thing, while others stand on the other side shaking their heads. There's no middle ground here. Just a divide. A fracture too wide to ignore. I don't know what's next. But I know one thing for sure. I can't keep pretending. I can't keep living a life that doesn't align with who I am, or what I need. The divorce is surprisingly amicable. There's no battle over assets. We split everything down the middle, no drama, no lawyers clawing at each other. It's a quiet, almost clinical process. Our house, the business, the vacations, we divvy it up, signing papers, and moving on with little more than a few tense moments. There's no bitterness, at least not on the surface. Linda takes the beach house, I keep the downtown apartment. It's a clean break, like peeling away an old, worn-out layer. But it's not just about the material things. The real change, the real shift, happens inside me. This divorce has forced me to confront things I've been ignoring for years. The parts of me I didn't fully understand, the desires I kept buried because I was trying so hard to hold on to something that wasn't meant to last. I didn't realize it at first, but the whole experience has been a catalyst for my personal growth. I've spent the last few months exploring who I really am, outside of the person I was with Linda. I've traveled more, not just for work, but for the joy of it. I've taken long walks by myself, spent hours reading books I had always wanted to read but never had the time for. I'm learning to embrace what I truly want in life, without the pressure of what I think others expect from me. There's a freedom in that, an authenticity that was missing before. I finally understand that personal fulfillment is more important than fulfilling some image of the perfect life. Linda, on the other hand, is struggling. She hides it well, but I can see the cracks. At first, she threw herself into her work, into dating, trying to fill the void left by our relationship. But I can tell she's restless. It's as if the freedom she sought has become a cage of its own. She's lonely, unsure of herself, unsure of where she fits in now. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She never really knew what she was asking for until she got it. Our friends notice the change. Some of them take sides. Linda's family, especially, doesn't know what to make of it. They thought we were the golden couple, the ones who had it all together. Now they don't know what to say. Some of our mutual friends back away, unsure how to navigate the divide. Others try to stay neutral, but it's obvious things have shifted. People are awkward now, and I can't blame them. But there's also a small group of people who get it. They see the truth of what happened, the evolution of our lives, and they support it. I don't need their approval, but it's reassuring to know I'm not completely alone in this. The world moves on, and so do we, each in our own direction. As for me, I decide to keep living the way I've been living, free. No commitments, no pressures. I've learned what I need. What I want. It's not just about the adventure, or the thrill of new experiences, it's about finding peace with myself. It's about being true to who I am, not to some idealized version of what I thought life should be. Sometimes, getting what you want reveals what you really need. I wanted freedom, and I got it. But what I found buried deep within was something more valuable than I expected: clarity, peace, and the space to grow into the person I was always meant to be. And maybe, just maybe, that's what we all need.